Thank you for coming back to part 2 with Matteo here on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more about your community. I mean, you covered it a great deal. How does somebody get into your community? Where do they find it?
Well, they can find it on my website, which is divorcedadshelp.com. And on my website, there's a school community page that will bring them there, and they can
Okay,
find out about it there. And that's I have my book on there. So I wrote a book called Authentic Fatherhood: Rediscovering Your
nice.
Best Self After Divorce, and it's basically my story on what I went through and what helped me navigate my divorce. And it took the point that the reason I really wanted to write this book is it was a 14 tough years,
Mm,
and I wanted to put it in this book to say, hey, it doesn't need to take 14 years. And I have friends right now that have been going through it for many years. And until they're ready, I think, until people are ready, like the old saying,
right.
you can't bring a horse to the water, you can't make it drink. I think
That's
until
right.
people really want that help, and you can't really give it to them. So by writing this book, it's really for the point of helping people that want to be helped, that are stuck and want some kind of tools and stuff they could use
Good.
to have better communication and not
Yeah.
lose all those years trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I like that you talked about the communication, that improved communication, because some of us just don't know how to communicate. There's just, there's no manual that talks about how do you communicate with your stepchild, how do you communicate with your exes and things like that, and it can be really tough. I know a family member that has a very difficult time communicating with his ex, and it makes it frustrating because you've got kids that you need to take care of, and it can't all be one-sided no matter what. Just, you've got to find ways to deal with it, and to find ways to deal with it without becoming angry yourself, without um, being frustrated, and how to deal with it correctly. So I really appreciate that you're talking about the communication part of it.
Yeah, yes, I think that's a very big deal. And a big part of that is eliciting your values and getting your highest values in different areas of your life.
Right.
For example, if in relationships, let's say, for an example, if your highest value, if we elicit your highest value to be freedom, then there could be a problem because relationships and freedom kind of don't match,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
So,
what do you mean by freedom? What does that really mean to you?
yeah, exactly. So
And I
by
like what
knowing
you're.
what they are,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, by knowing what those values are, then you could actually align how you're living. If you're matching those values by how you're living, because if you're not, you'll never meet that expectation. You'll never meet that
Right.
value, and you'll never be satisfied. You'll get that dream job, and you'll get there and you'll be like, wait a minute, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Because maybe that your highest value was significance. Maybe you wanted to be in law enforcement or whatever the case is for significance, but you're not leading that way, or maybe you wanted it for love but you're leading with significance, and it just, if they don't match, you're never going to be satisfied.
Right. And I like all of this that you're saying, because it really does apply to entrepreneurs and business. You have got to know those so you can keep going, or you're never going to be happy with your business. You're going to keep trying all these different things to meet something that you need to take care of yourself. Is, what are my values? What are my non-negotiables? What am I not communicating correctly? Is I don't know, there's a just all the things that you need to have personally too really applies into your business, so people know what you're after. Bosses, how many bosses have you had in your lifetime that just don't get it, or that don't communicate well, or that want this but they're going after it a way that's not going to get them what they want? So yeah, this definitely is good for entrepreneurs. and taking that next step.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about what you do. I
So
know
what,
there's more there.
oh, absolutely. Yes. So I have various programs that I do too. I do a 6-week program where, I always start off actually eliciting values because I need to know a baseline. I need to know where somebody's at, what somebody
Yeah,
wants. Okay. And then from that, I will go with doing some limiting beliefs and really going into a light trance. And you go into a light trance and you go into the unconscious mind and really find out what's holding you back, why it's holding you
start
back.
plucking those out of there.
Exactly. You just start plucking that out and people really realize what's going on and that, everything is fear in a sense in disguise. Like
Yeah,
everything, whether
yeah,
it's jealousy, whether it's all kinds of different anxieties and stuff like that. What is it
yeah.
at the end? It's
That
disguise. It's
fear.
just fear. That's all it is. We're afraid.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about
Wow.
just letting go of that fear and really just knowing that we're lovable people. And if we lead with love, like it's so important. I never thought of this in my 30s and 40s. Like I just, it was all about, it was different. I didn't have my values aligned, right? And
Yes.
it was all about everything on the outside,
Yeah.
everything in my environment kind of dictated how I felt. And when I realized, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with how I should feel. It's all internal. Like, why am I looking elsewhere? Why am I looking outside of myself when I'm the one that's perceiving everything and I'm the one that's putting
Yeah.
meaning to it?
Yeah.
So
Good point.
that's what I help people do. So through my courses and coaching, that's what I help people see and help people do for themselves.
That's wonderful. So important. And once you start, it's funny. I met with my one of my coaches yesterday, and she said, "I just can't believe the difference in you today from 2 weeks ago. What happened?" And it's like finally figuring it out, you know, getting rid of those limiting beliefs, knowing what I really wanted. And that's been a struggle these last couple of years is, I got into this whole world that I didn't know existed of writing and owning business and being online. And so everybody says, oh, you need to do this if you're going to succeed. You need to do this if you're going to succeed. So here am I trying, I'm doing all of these things. And at some point, I'm like, I'm not happy. This is great, but I don't enjoy this. And at my age, why do I want to keep doing it? And it's not just at my age, but at any age. If you're not enjoying it, why aren't you enjoying it? So I would keep going back to why did I get into it for the first place? Because I love to write. I wanted to get my books out there. And then finding podcasting, that was just, oh, that was like the whipped cream and the nuts and the sprinkles and everything on top of it. And it's like, I really love that. I love being able to give the value to people and find out all these amazing, amazing entrepreneurs that are out there. And then and we'll have to get you on my other podcast, 104 New Books, talk about that book. There's so many books and finding out what makes an author write the book that they have. And it's like, yeah, that just lights me up. So I made a list. These are the things I do. And it was quite an extensive list. I was surprised. But it's like, which one of these do I really enjoy? What just really lights me up? And why am I doing all of these? What is the purpose of them? And there were some I did it just because somebody told me that's what I needed to do. And I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't find a way to add value to people by doing that. And it's like, well, then I shouldn't do it. And it made a difference. It took that vampire energy, as Spencer Jones says, get rid of that energy that's not serving you. And wow, it's like, what a difference. It's like a breath of oxygen,
Yeah.
getting into there. And it's like, whoa, okay, this is what everybody's talking about. And then you just keep going one step further and you keep going another step further. And Yeah.
Isn't that the best feeling when you realize that for yourself and then you can help others realize that? That's
Oh,
just
yeah.
the best
Yeah.
feeling. For me, I don't care how much money you give me. That is the best feeling.
Yeah.
I remember when I was probably 14 years old and I was at the skating rink and there was a male, he was an Asian male. He was probably in his mid to late 20s and he was a really tall guy and he was falling over like I'm looking at him on the ice and I was like, wow, this guy's going to get injured. So I went out there as a little kid and went out there and said, hey, let me help you. And I, grabbed his arm and I brought him, I kind of taught him how to balance better on the skates and all that. And he barely spoke English. He was so happy that I took the time to teach him that years passed by and I saw him at the rink again. And now I'm in my, late teens and he remembered me and he came and gave me the biggest hug. And I remember that to this day, how that help that I gave him back then, how it made me feel was just nothing could beat that. I don't care what you gave me, nothing can beat that is helping people and seeing
And I
them.
think how you made him feel to still be so grateful so many years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've recently heard a story and I've told it already on a few podcasts, but it's worth telling again. This young man had decided, that's it. My life is over. I'm going to go home and that's going to be the end of it. He goes, if one person smiles at me on my way home, then I won't do it. And he went home. Nobody's smiling. Nobody's smiling. And he's thinking, okay, that's it. And one person smiled at him, just lifted up, smiled, went on. That one person has no idea that he saved that young man. And and I'm sorry I don't remember who it is because now he's somebody kind of famous. but but it was just amazing to hear the story. One person that just took the time to smile at somebody, took time to offer a courtesy, took time to do something. I was talking with one of my guests about I was at the grocery store the other day and you've got this big area where you have to let everybody cross before you go. And there were a lot of people crossing. I must sit there 15 minutes. I mean, it was like I got there just as everybody was either coming in or leaving. So I'm waiting and everybody's on their phone. They're looking at the groceries, looking at the ground, doing everything else. One person, only one person lifted their head up and nodded. And it was an older gentleman, a veteran, leaning on his cart, walking through there. Now, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Out of all those people, only one person. Now, when I went to the store, same store yesterday, and I stopped in, it was just a few people there. Every one of them waved and said thank you. Every one of them. So it's interesting just because there's nothing happening one day. Maybe they're all rushing. Maybe it's just they've been going so at it so hard, or they've got meetings or other things to go to. It's just people may just be having an off day, and it may be a lot of people all at once, but don't base your life on that one time. The next day. There's always a different day.
Absolutely. Like people go through things every day, and a lot of it's in their own mind, of course. I mean, that
Yeah.
there's stuff happening externally, but even, a lot of times I'm driving and I look into other vehicles that are driving past me, and you could see people are just so they're into that inner voice that we have, that unconscious mind doesn't shut up. And you could see that they're into that, right? And it's just yeah, really, really kind of that disturbance that we have inside of us when you could kind of just sit back and watch it and kind of be the observer of that voice.
Yeah.
It's really humbling when you can actually see it and say, whoa, okay, let me just step back. Let me see I call it my crazy roommate is my that little voice. But when it starts just going off, I'm like, okay. And I just watch it and I sit there and like, okay, buddy,
You
you're
do.
nuts. Right. And then I move on. But like you to your point, if you like the little things, like the guy who smiled that saved that person,
Yeah.
we just all lived our life knowing little tiny things we do can make such a big difference. And just being kind to people can make a big difference. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so it's It's
I used
not
to
that
buy
difficult.
people a real coffee, going through the coffee drive-through, even the restaurants. I would pay for the meal behind me or something before it became real popular for anybody else was doing it. And it's just like, I remember there was times when it was really tough, really hard, trying to make ends meet, and going to a fast food restaurant was actually a luxury. And so I always tried to do something, and so I would do that. One time somebody said, had to pull up and wait for my food to get done. The person came up and said, I can pay for my own food. I don't need you to do that. And I go, I only did it because I care about you and I wanted you to have a good day. And they didn't know what to think about it. And I said, well, that's okay. And so when the person went to bring my food out, they had the extra money. I says, you know what? Somebody else is not going to have enough, or they need to have a little help. Give it to the next person, or just give it to you. You guys all take care of it. When you go, put it in the tip jar or whatever. And they're like, wow, really? I go, yeah. I was in a store one time, and I don't remember what it was. I think the gentleman was like short a couple of dollars or something. I don't know. So I said, well, here, I've got it. We'll just take care of it. And he goes, why would you do that? And I said, you know what? All month long, I have not done anything nice for anybody. And I tried to do one nice thing each month for somebody. Today, it's your turn. And they were like, wow, that's pretty awesome. And it's like, and for me, it was like, no big deal. But for somebody else, it was like, wow, you do one thing nice for somebody every month. And, well, I do more than that, but I didn't tell them that, but it's like, and I realized I hadn't done anything that month. So yeah, I was overdue, but
That
it
is
doesn't
true.
take much. It doesn't
No,
take
it
much.
doesn't. Imagine everyone did that, LS. That would be like this world would just be flipped upside down in the best way possible. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
but I do know there's other people who do that. But
Yes.
it's not that common. And one time the kids were challenged from youth group to get all the shopping carts that are scattered out in the parking lot and bring them in, or put them in, the little parking bins. So it's not out there in all the places. And one gentleman that was trying to collect all the carts, he goes, why are you doing that? It's like, because we just want to do something nice for you today. And it was like, that was really helpful. Thank you. I didn't know how I was going to get it all done, plus everything else I needed to do. So it's like, you have no idea how much you're going to help somebody, how much you're going to give them that feel good in their heart. And it doesn't cost you anything. Maybe a little time. You're going to waste it anyways. So,
Some people will give you that initial resistance because
oh
they
yeah,
don't know how to react, right? Like the guy
yeah,
in Starbucks or whatever. But it's amazing afterwards because I bet you anything that that person thought about it all day. What you did, they thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and maybe questioned themselves, saying,
yeah,
"Whoa, was I so reluctant, or why did I push this away at first?" Right? So it's
yeah.
amazing, amazing. I
Or
love
they
it.
do it for somebody else,
Yeah.
like that movie, Pay It Forward.
Yes.
It doesn't take much.
No. No.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be so difficult sometimes with I can't even think of what they're called anymore because we don't really interact with them that much. But someone on the other end who's like collecting a bill or whatever, and they're used to everybody yelling at them and blaming them. Call center.
Collection agencies.
Yeah, a call. Well, I'm thinking a call center,
Yeah.
saying these things, have to get done. And it's like, how many times have I been upset with them? It's like you're calling at the wrong time. I just, the dogs drop mud everywhere. The kids are running through the house, driving me crazy. And it's like, what do you want? One more thing added on to it. But it's like, it doesn't take anything just to breathe, answer the phone, say hi, and be nice. And And I found that by being nice to the person on the other end of the phone, even if I am so frustrated, the other day I went through 6 different people getting transferred to another one, transferred to another one. And by the 6th one, I'm like, what is going on here? And I thought, I can't take it out on them. I said, this is 6th call. I'm pretty tired of this, but we got to get this solved. So let's just see what we can do to get it solved. And it let that person know my frustration on my end, what I've been going through. And 2, it gave me time to diffuse myself before I talked to this person. And it all came down to that they needed to talk to my husband, not me, because his name was on it. And it's like, whatever. Okay. Phew, I'm out of it now. Let him deal with it. But it's like, yeah, it would be so easy to be upset at somebody, be upset at a client that's not doing what you told them to do, being upset at somebody who's supposed to be helping you so you have the stuff for your client, and then taking it out on your client without realizing you're doing that. So we really have to check ourselves, and that includes me. I need to check myself. That's okay. The cows got out. I'm supposed to be on a podcast. I can't let them go get free. I'm the only one here. So it's like, okay, can we be delayed a little bit? Whatever it is. But yeah, and that's the one thing as entrepreneurs, we have interruptions that we don't want. A few seconds ago, my puppy came in, my husband's puppy. Can't blame it on him. It's going to be a service dog, but the puppy came in, and it's like, great. How am I going to? I just was waiting for her to jump up on top of me while you're talking, and I just kind of let her chew on my fingers. And one of the other dogs went through the dog door, and then she left. And it's like, phew, okay. But it's like life happens, and when it happens, don't get upset about it. It's like, you deal with it and you go on.
Because if you do get upset, all it's really going to do is it's going to raise your cortisol levels, and it's very unhealthy for you. Like
Yeah.
everything, all the chemicals in your body shift, and all of a sudden your immune system comes down, and you might have a sore throat that night, and you have no idea why, but it was your reaction to something that you really had not that much control over, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like when we started the podcast, my neighbor started blowing leaves, and there was a
Oh,
big
yeah. That's like, oh,
distraction outside, right? And I'm like, okay, just deal with it. It's okay. Life happens.
yeah. Yesterday it was actually with my coach. So it wasn't anything that was being recorded to be out into the world, but all of a sudden the fire alarms were going off, and they'd been testing them all day. So she's there trying to deal with this. You've got this red and flashing off and on her face, and it's like, that's okay. We'll just take our time. We'll deal with it because it's just a test. When it's over, we can talk again. But it's, things happen. Yeah. You go with it, and you do the best with it. And sometimes we do get flustered, and you go, look, I'm just so flustered. This is what's going on. And you go with it that way. Let people know what's going on, because we're all human. We all have things that disrupt us, that get in our way. We try not to. I could have shut the door, but then you would have heard this scratch, 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 scratch on the door. You don't need to hear that. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Puppies are interesting. I forgot what it's like to have a puppy.
We definitely have to take things lightly. We have to
Oh,
really
yeah.
look
Yeah.
at things and know how, number one, and I've found this out recently, that I really realized that we are so lucky to even be here communicating, for us to even be here on this earth. Like the amount of different DNA sequences that there are, just the chance of us being born is like, think of all the other DNA sequences that were not born. Like, we're just so lucky to be here. And sometimes,
Or
we have the weight of the world on our shoulders.
like Nick, I'm actually, even though I have his books, I'm reading it. I'm listening to him tell it on Audible. Life
Wow.
Without Limits. All the first child in the family, no arms, no legs, a little bit of a leg and a foot, a couple of toes, and that's about it. And here he is, like the number one speaker in the world right now. At least that's what I understand. But you talking about DNA, we never know. And then what do you do with it? What do you do with your situation? How do you deal with it? And you do go through times, even in your business, you go through times that are really tough that you're struggling with because you haven't learned how to navigate it. You haven't learned how to have the perspective you need to go through it, to see it from a different angle so you can get ahead, so you do know how to negotiate through it, because you're going to have lots of things that are going to come up that are going to throw you for a loop. And it's like, okay, things have thrown me for a loop in the past. I've dealt with them. I've learned how to deal with it. Can I use any of those tools I've learned along the way to deal with this situation? I have a little, I'll take it off here. On my laptop, I have this that says, "Successful is something you are right now," by John Maxwell. And you already have a 100% success rate by Steve Harvey. And go on YouTube and find that little, I think it's a short now too, that they have, where he talks about your success because you're here right now. Think of all those things in the past you thought you'd never get through. You didn't know how you were going to get through them. You thought it was going to be over, that you just couldn't go on anymore, but yet here you are today. You did it.
Stronger and wiser.
And you're going to get through the next one. It's just finding that. And sometimes you need a community like your community or other communities that are out there that really do help each other through the program. There's a lot of communities, but some aren't as helpful as others. And it may be you need one community for the season in your life and then another community for the next season in your life. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to try it out.
I don't know. Do you know Ed Mylett?
Yes, in fact, he's coming with LifeSearch in December. As soon as I saw they were going to be in Austin, it's like, yes, it's got Ed Mylett. It has
Nice.
Priscilla Shire. It has Nick is going to be there. John Maxwell's going to be there. Oh my goodness, I am going to be so upset with myself. I can't remember his name. He's a comedian, and I saw him years ago when he was kind of first starting out. Let's see if I have it here. There we go. Yeah, Michael Jr., just hilarious. Nice. Craig Groeschel, Groeschel, I think is there. He's a pastor and author. I don't know him real well, but it's like, I'm just so excited. But anyways, go ahead and tell me what you were going to say about Ed Mylett.
No, I love his saying that, just one more. Like it's that one more phone call, that one more, that one more email, whatever it is, it's that one more. And the analogy of the piñata. So you go to a party and, you got 100 kids in a row, each beating that piñata. And then the smallest kid at the end where, everyone loses interest because they're like, this thing's not going to break. And it's that last kid that just touches it and the thing breaks. And then, there comes all the
over.
Yeah. Right. And it's like us in business, right? Sometimes we just, we push, and then we just give up, or we just we put the foot off the gas because we think, this is not going anywhere. But it's one more that really makes it.
Are you thinking that, I've been working at it so hard, this is not the right path for me, it's not doing, but maybe you haven't given it time yet. We forget to stop and give things time to happen. We're just, I did this and I did this and I did this. It's okay. Sit back. Think of it like a stew. You put all the stuff in there. Okay. It came to boil. You can eat it right away. It's going to be okay. But the stew is better when it simmers. And then you stir it all up. And the stew's even better on the second day because now all of those flavors have gotten in there and they've really mixed together. So we need to, keep doing what we're doing, but have patience. Yes. Wait a little bit. Let the flavors just meld together.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Matteo, thank you for being here with us today. I want to just keep going on, but I need to be respectful of everybody's time. Some of these talks, they go on for a while. that we want to do this. Tell us again how we can find you, your community.
You could find me at www.divorcedadshelp.com. And you can find my website there and get all the info there. And I really appreciate you, LS, for having me on your show and just for being in my life. I don't know what, something brought you to me, and I'm very grateful for that. So I want you to know that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, somehow we just like magnets connected together. It was great. Yeah, it's that positive thinking, getting rid of those negative beliefs and lining up with what you really feel is what you need to do. And I just appreciate it. This is great. So audience, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, LS Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and receive a second year absolutely free. This is a limited time offer available exclusively to those who mention the name of today's podcast. Join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.